Welcome to Port Jefferson. The native name was Sawasset, meaning where water opens, or a place of small pines. And it became a shipbuilding center. It was called Drowned Meadow because the marsh flooded by the tides. And you can take a ferry over to Connecticut from here. This was the largest shipbuilding area in all of Suffolk County in the 1800s. And that was their major industry. And that piece of land off the very end is McAllister County Park. And there's a memorial to shipbuilders. And that's what it used to look like long ago. There's the Mather House Museum and a lot of other museums to be seen in the area. And the Clock Museum. It's has volunteers that come and wind the clocks. There's a bakery that faces the marina.
Can I get also I don't know if you call that a chocolate cigar, but
yeah, it is a chocolate cigar.
Please.
Sure.
And 2 almond horns. Look at that. And, yeah, and then in a bag, can we get 2 chocolate chip cookies, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Then I think we're good. Oh, you got it. Very good. Come on. Are you gonna get a
Okay, it's my fave. Look at that. Oh my God. This is driving up the hill out of Port Jefferson and heading towards Belle Terre. And the reason why we were in town at all was because we were visiting somebody at the hospital. You'll see the photo. We had to peer in through a window and wave because we weren't allowed inside, which is really cruel. And as you can see, there's a lot of older buildings still existing here, and it's a great place to spend a day or an overnight at a Airbnb and just look at the old houses, the architecture. And Belle Terre can be traced back to a deed obtained by a British adventurer in 1660 from the Setauket Indians of the area. And over 200 years later, Dean Alvord in 1912 envisioned a community to rival Newport, Rhode Island, which you may have heard of. And the famous architect Stanford White designed the gatehouse and some of the mansions. And it was incorporated as a village in 1931. There's a total of about 300 houses in here, and anywhere from 1 million to many millions of dollars. And it was really more of a colony of summer homes back then. And it's at the end of one of the branches of the Long Island Railroad. So being 58 miles from Manhattan, it was an easy trip to get out there. I just speeded this up a little bit. And they have their own constabulary for their village, and they are watching you all the time. There they are. And you can't park here anywhere. You'll get a ticket, just parking. And there's only 4 parking spaces at the McAllister County Park. And that's the golf course there. I think Devereaux Emmett designed it. I'm sure it's changed since then. And it's a beautiful place to ride a bicycle or take a walk or a jog. It's It's full of wildlife, birds, fox. It used to have bridle trails through it. I don't know if it has those anymore. And there's a famous mansion that's no longer there, but it's at the end. It's was owned by a Bulgarian countess, and she was very much beloved in the area. She had lots of fundraisers. So if you just Google the Pink Mansion in Belle Terre, you might see some videos about it. It was built in 1870, 19,000 square feet, and 30 bedrooms. It was used as a location in the movie Life and Loves of a She-Devil, and you can find a clip of that movie with Meryl Streep walking up to the house, shrieking about something. So the Countess lived there for 40 years, and she died in 2014. Her husband, sadly, bulldozed the house. So I tried to find photos of the house, but I could only find a photo of machinery in front of it, taking it down. And I can also leave a link to a video that somebody did with a drone, so you can see just where it was scraped away. Let's see if I recognize the gate. It's one of these gates. There is, I think that's it. There's a video that a man made, and I'm going to link that also, of, I think they just sort of barged in. They just saw the gate was open, and they drove around the loop at the end of the road and went back and went into the driveway there and pretended that they were asking about whether the house was for sale. And here's the loop. And I jumped out to try to take a picture, but my friend had to keep driving around in a circle, staying in motion, because you'll get a ticket for stopping there. So I got out, did a little video here, nothing much to see, and then we headed back out. And eventually you will see one of the constable cars changing his mind about coming after us and heading away. There he is. Bye-bye. There was a famous murder here, double murder. It was a teenager, age 17, Martin Tankleff, but he was exonerated for the 1988 murder of his parents, and he won a $10 million settlement for wrongful conviction. 17 years in prison. It's really sad. And so now he works towards helping other people who were wrongly convicted. And it was probably his father's business partner who owed him $350,000. And he faked his own disappearance, but was later found. They never caught, or they know who it is, but they never went after him, which is kind of sad. I'm hoping that the son eventually gets some justice for his parents. Belle Terre's 1,300 acres were inhabited by Native Americans originally, of course, and they called it Nono-Wantuk, meaning the stream that dries up. They deeded the land to 3 Englishmen in 1689, and you can still see their fingerprints on the deed, and that's about all that's left of them there, their history. Eventually, the Strong family bought it, and they held it for 100 years, until Dean Alvord, the man who created Prospect Park South in Brooklyn, he was a real estate developer, he bought the parcel to create the Belle Terre Club. The charter members included the Whitneys, the Vanderbilts, the Astors, and the Belmonts. So it was meant to be very exclusive. Stanford White who I mentioned earlier. He was the architect who designed the gatehouse to it and some of the mansions. He also designed houses for the rich in Newport, as well as yacht clubs, the Washington Square Arch, the University of Virginia Rotunda, Madison Square Garden 2, and as well as 7 homes in Montauk, believe it or not. And Dick Cavett owns one of them, but that's an entire another story. Stanford White was the Jeffrey Epstein of his day, and the details are like too disgusting for to be spoken of. And Mark Twain actually wrote about him in his autobiography, and he sounded just like Epstein and Epstein's friends. Now it's time to take a little break to admire the wild turkeys crossing the road. Hello there, turkeys. Run, run like the dickens. If you've seen the movie Ragtime, then you might know something about the trial of the century, as it was called in its time. The man who murdered Stanford White at Madison Square Garden. Goodbye to Belle Terre, and we'll end on a beautiful note with a view of the exquisite Port Jefferson Harbor and the ferry departing.